Gen Z, the most unemployed generation in history, the largest cohort that humanity will ever see, and the one you will probably end up working for. Let's unpack this. It was 2019 when the first batch of Gen Z stepping into the job market, and that's just before the COVID hit. In 1 year, the youth unemployment rate is through the roof, especially in hospitality and service, where Gen Z was overrepresented at that time. So that was the first shock. Fast forward to 2025. Roughly one half of the generation is already in the workforce. The second wave of Gen Z graduations are expected to be within 2027 and 2030. That is exactly the very active phase of AI adoption by enterprise. According to McKinsey, up to 40% of junior level jobs are to be automated. So the economic, political, tech climate are challenging Gen Z throughout their maturation. In the meantime, 51% of global wealth is still held by boomers and early X, those, aged 50 plus, which might seem disproportionate. However, relative population share is still 27%, so it's not that crazy. Speaking of demographics, a quick detour before we get to the main story. So remember I said Gen Z is the largest cohort that humanity will ever see. That wasn't clickbait. But to be clear also, by number of birth, Millennials hold the record. But upon entering the labor market, they lost 7%. So that made the Gen Z the largest generation ever to enter the workforce. Now look at the bigger trend. Global fertility and birth rates are declining steadily since 2012, even as the population number was climbing, but that momentum is over now. We reached the plateau peaking at Gen Z, and numbers started to dip. So next generation, Gen Alpha, born within 2010 and 2024, is already smaller. Every next generation is projected to shrink even more. Essentially, we're dying. So why should you even care? Sure, it's a signal for all of us to stay sharp, relevant, and competitive in that landscape, but this video is actually about entrepreneurship because that's what's left for the Gen Z to thrive and survive. Thanks to Silicon Valley culture, entrepreneurship became suddenly something glamorous and romanticized. Historically, however, businesses are essentially for peasants because lower the GDP per capita, the higher the share of adults launching businesses. You can see it from the top and bottom 5 countries with early stage entrepreneurship activities. Ecuador is in the top of the world. 33% of adults starting businesses, while the wealthiest nations like Japan, Germany, and Sweden are in the bottom with 2%. There has been long-running narrative that big tech and mega corporations are swallowing small companies, making it impossible to compete with them, whereas reality check shows the opposite. Big tech is laying off thousands, while small businesses comprise 90% of all companies in the world and employ 70% of the global workforce. AI being the biggest disruption for, Gen Z's job market, it's also the greatest opportunity democratizing entrepreneurship for them and all of us. After all, every curse is a blessing and vice versa. So the plot twist here, the most unemployed and quote-unquote unemployable generation is on track to become the one creating jobs for everyone else, since conventional systems are crumbling as we speak. So I guess the take-home message here is, if you ever see yourself starting a business, consider doing it now, because throughout every sector we need new solutions, new tools. The old ways are becoming obsolete. And yeah, so thank you for watching, subscribing, and commenting and all that.